Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive podcast, man. I am your host, Mual, Coach Mual, Hen Dog Mual, man, all that good stuff, bro. In here, I see you out too. EB is that guy. All rip. I see it, man. In here with AJ. AJ, player, what's going on with you, big dog?
Cool. I was just thinking on the intro, like, hey, I want to meet the guy that made the Trap or Dive intro.
Hey, look, you got a couple people that you gotta talk to. You know, it was a collaborative project, but you can meet these people for sure. 100%, man.
Hey, watch me throw the ball.
Hey, bro, that junk, son, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. It be like, especially when I first got the junk sent to me, when he first sent it to me, it was times where I'm over here waking up and I'm like, because I listen to the podcast sometimes. I don't really like listening to like my voice or anything like that. But sometimes I'll play it back. But those days I play it back, bro, I listen to the intro like 10 times. Like, this motherfucking tough, bro. My man Montez, bro. Let me go ahead and get Dre in this thing too. Dre, what's going on? My bad, AJ. But you said everything good though?
Oh yeah, everything good, man. Actually, while we doing the show, I'm trying to get my phone together, which it's like I left the store and it doesn't seem like they activated my damn phone. So
you did say something was going on with it. Did you? Oh, you had to get a new phone. It sounded like you said activated. You had to get a new one.
Get a new joint, but it's like it's over here asking me about the eSIM, setting up my cellular, if I want to transfer from a nearby phone, a QR code, and I'm like, bruh, QR codes. I'm over here Googling. I'm multitasking while we doing the show right now. Essentially.
Well, you good, bro? Let me go ahead.
I'm just trying to get this thing moving and grooving over here, you know, down, set, hut. Watch me throw the ball.
Gotta say, AJ look real professional today, man.
I'm about to say, yeah, the collar on, bro, the sweater and shit. You know what I'm saying? You just came from a meeting, bro? What's your new client
outfit?
Had a meeting earlier, you know, had to get a little spiffy, you know. Feeling like a new man. Got the
locks retwisted.
Like my man Mual. I ain't paid that $160,
bro. Nah, I ain't paid that. I went to the old lady, the person I always go to, bro. But
what Lotto say? I pay that $500.
Hey, look, man, I'm minding my business, man. I ain't gonna lie to you though. 160 for my hair, it's she better do a good job. I heard it like 140, 150, but 165 or 160, whatever it was, it's not too big of a difference. So I'm gonna bite the bullet like when the time comes, but it's actually crazy. Shorty started to open up her schedule again, so I may not even have to worry about that. Anyway, Dre, what's going on with you, player? How you feeling?
Man, I'm good. Shit, this victory week, man. Every day I'm feeling a little bit better about this team. Trying to rewatch the game. See some things and get ready for this game coming up this week, man.
Hell yeah. So EB is that guy. L2 says everybody that's in the comments, everybody that's watching live. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate it. Always welcome to join the show through the. Actually, we got to start. I'm about to start opening up the show again. Sending the invite out to anybody that wants to join. Maybe we can save that for Tuesdays, or maybe just immediate post games. We used to do a post game, like the instant recaps. So maybe we do an instant for the instant recaps. We get people on, and or a couple people on, because last week was really good, fellas. We had a really good outing on the post game show. But anyway, like, subscribe, podcast, audio, leave a rating review if you can, follow if you aren't. We definitely appreciate that as well. All right. So where is my agenda, man? So I was over here thinking, like, as the day went on. I know y'all can hear Dakota in the background, so I'm gonna go ahead and put myself on mute in 2 seconds when I get the floor to you all. But like, my thing with Washington is actually is pretty encouraging. We didn't do a pregame show or a game preview show. That was on me. I had other things that just bled into 7:00 and later in the evening. But I want to start here and then pose a question, or a second question. The first one is, where were you all at heading into the game in terms of Washington's chances? Like, if we were doing the show and you gave your game prediction, where were you all at in that instance on Thursday? But then secondly, after winning in the way in which they did, however you perceived it, like whatever your opinion is on how they took the game over, with them winning in the fashion in which they did, where are you at in terms of being able to compete with, like, the top dogs on their schedule? I'll leave it there and give y'all the floor. What do y'all think?
I mean, I think for me, going into the game against Denver, my number one concern was, how will Sam Howell and this offensive line do against the blitz? Vance Joseph and Eric Bieniemy, if most don't know, coming into the match before they announced it on TV, I knew that they were best friends. Like, they're besties, you feel me? Like, so that's your best friend off the field. And then on top of that, y'all played together in college. Y'all know y'all intricacies throughout the league, as Vance has developed to be a successful defensive coordinator in the NFL. Crazy enough, he once was the head coach of the Denver Broncos just maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He's humble enough to go back and take a DC job. You really don't see that in the NFL. Bieniemy has spent his time as a running backs coach within the NFL ranks, and as of lately, the OC of the Kansas City Chiefs and now Washington Commanders. So they know each other's tendency very well. And if anything, Vance Joseph had the advantage in this matchup due to the fact that Eric Bieniemy is working essentially with a rookie quarterback in Sam Howell. So that's what I was curious about. And it proved me right during the game. It's just at some point, once you start clicking as an offense, you start clicking as a play caller on either side of the ball, it's kind of hard to lose that momentum. And once EB got in the groove and Sam got in the groove, everything else fell in line. You could connect the calls, you could connect the play calling even more with each other. And as you've seen, they were able to come back and make a run for it. From a defensive standpoint, I felt like Sean Payton would try to establish the run so he can get into his play action bag and Russell Wilson could go deep. That happened. I wasn't expecting the target to be Marvin Mims. I clearly forgot that he was even on their team, that they drafted him out of Oklahoma. I thought that Jerry Jeudy would be more productive in the game, being that he's such a dynamic route runner. And he had opportunities. It's just the pass rush was so elusive going after Russell Wilson that he couldn't get the ball in Judy's hands. But Jeudy won a lot of his matchups during that game. But overall, I never expected 21-3. I never expected them having to fight back. But I'm glad that those type of moments happened this early in the season. Uh, and it showed a lot about this team. It showed that Eric Bieniemy has a major influence over this team, not just even from the offensive side of the ball, but defensively. From the looks that he provided them within training camp of this offense, also helps the preparation for Washington's defense when they go against teams that have a more modernized offensive scheme, like you're going to see in a Denver, you're going to see in the Buffalo Bills this weekend, and the following week the Eagles. It also showed the conditioning, because one of the major things is the altitude in Denver. Like, they were well conditioned. You didn't really see you seen some moments of like cramping and guys were tired, but you didn't really see too much of it. And that's probably due to the fact that they practiced so hard this offseason and with so much intensity that they are well prepared for those moments in the second week of the season. So yeah, I mean, I felt like everything that we probably would have touched on my end Thursday came to fruition. Thankfully they were able to overcome the obstacle, and I think that gives them great momentum and confidence in their offense, knowing like, hey, they could put up 35.
Yeah, going into the game, I honestly expected an ugly game, but I didn't know, if I expected a
In
win or
favor of
not.
who? Or
Both. I mean,
okay.
because after the Arizona game, I just had like a bittersweet taste in my mouth. I mean, because we expected, to come out and probably dominate Arizona, and so to speak, but we were in a dogfight with them. So after that game, I'm going into the Denver game. I know Denver kind of plays an ugly brand of football. They had just had an ugly 17-16 game with the Raiders week 1. So I'm like, all right, well, this is probably going to be some kind of slug it out defensive battle, because our offense didn't really inspire enough confidence in me going into the week. But man, I mean, the explosion they ended up having after going down 21-3. I mean, I think they scored they went on a 32-3 run. I mean, who would have ever expected that? I mean, we didn't expect to be down 21-3 either. But I mean, going forward, I'm still not sure where you are at, because before the game, I said, okay, you have to go 2-0 if you're going up against Buffalo and Philadelphia's week 3 or 4, because you lose to Denver, you don't want to start. I mean, you can possibly start a ball rolling of some big losses. Going 1-3, 1-4. So you don't want to do that. I said Denver is the one game. While it's hard, because that's Mile High Stadium, we hardly ever win there. If you win there, you're going into the next week with confidence, and that's what you're going now. But still, Denver wasn't the bar for me. I don't know if I mean, that was just okay, we're getting a 2-0. We still don't know what you have in this team, but Buffalo is kind of the litmus test. Not to say that you have to beat Buffalo. It's not a must win at all, like Arizona Cardinal game was for me. But Buffalo is kind of the test to say, all right, this team can compete going forward. Even if you lose this game to Buffalo, if you can play them competitively and have like a really good game, even like the offense is getting rolling, then you feel good going forward. But if you go in there and get blown out by Buffalo, I mean, at home especially, another sold-out crowd this week, then I'm not sure you have much confidence going forward, at least against the Eagles the next week, going to Philly. So right now, I'm still kind of in a wait-and-see mode with this team, but I do think Buffalo offers us some kind of litmus test.
Hawk, he asked us, when was the last time the football team went 3-0 in the regular season? 05, man. That was the last time we went 3-0 in the regular season. So we're pushing on 20 years since the Commanders Redskins football team went 3-0 in the regular season, man.
But that reminds me of the 2-0 thing. I didn't realize that the last time we were 2-0 was when 2011. So I was like, damn, because I'm like, 2011 was dreadful to me. All I remember was Rex Grossman and John Beck. Look, 3-0, and we get there. All right, I'm feeling good that maybe we can make a playoff run like we did in 05. But 2-0, I'm like, oh man, we ended that season 5-11. So I'm gonna need a little bit more.
So for me, man, I was in this space where, like, heading into the game, first off, I think I did an article as well from Hogs Haven. I would say August, maybe June. I mean, maybe July. I don't know. Something around training camp. Like, best case scenario for the first month of the season, or the first quarter of the season for Washington. And I said their best case scenario after I outlined everything was 3-1. And it was starting off beating Denver, and beating Arizona. But Philly and Buffalo, you're capable of beating either one. Again, we're talking about best case scenario. So what had to happen for Washington to be in this best case scenario, right? You had to look at your offense. If the offense was underrated by so many people in the offseason, and it showed in the regular season that, hey, this is competent, but not only competent, it is potentially explosive. By the way, Eric Bieniemy is able to get the max potential out of everybody, right? Now you're looking at an offense that can really put up some points. They put up 35 against Denver. Now you're looking at, on the defense side of football, I really like them, but it's like, in order to go 3-1, you have to show that they can take over games. 7 sacks against Denver. Completely shut them out after a quick 21 that was put up on them. And we all know at this point, like, a coverage breakdown existed, and then your first 2 drives, you were just getting beat up in the ring, and you had to find a way to recover, you had to find a way to stabilize, and you had to fight back. And they did just that, and they really, like, the amount of pressures that they had on Russell Wilson, it was like 22, 23 pressures that I counted. He was on his ass from the second quarter to the end of the fourth quarter. Like, he was on his ass, bro. And, like, when you take over games to that extent from a pressure standpoint, a pass rush standpoint, like, Del Rio wasn't doing anything exotic up front with his blitzes. Like, he called 1 cover 0 blitz the whole game. And everything else was from spies and from people winning up front. And these guys did it in back-to-back weeks to start the season out. Again, Arizona, their offensive line is okay, in my opinion, but you dominated them up front. Denver, their offensive line is average, but you dominated them up front. When you build up momentum in the way in which they did, in which they've continued to do so these past couple games, you got a sellout crowd. By the way, that was just announced for everybody who isn't really aware, as we're recording or as you're listening. You have a sellout crowd at home against Buffalo. Sure, you may have a few more Buffalo fans than you did Arizona in week 1, but you got a sellout. And you're going to have something to play for that's meaningful at home every single week, so long as you keep winning. Like, everything is there for you, in front of you for the taking. I think, to answer my question directly, what did I think before Denver? I thought that they had a chance. And that's why I brought up everything from the article. I thought that they had a chance. I thought that they could beat Denver because I don't see anything special in Russell. But I also think that a team that is still basically brand new in terms of what Sean Payton wants to do, and the culture that culture of that team really shifting. I think you still have a window, regardless of how bad they want to win. You still have a window to go in Denver and whoop them. They didn't whoop them. It was a close game. Point being, you had a chance. And after the game, I'm sitting here thinking, just like one of my good friends at the gym, he messaged me and he said, or not even messaged, because I saw him at the gym. He said, "Man, look, I think I told y'all about this guy. He stopped being a fan in 2011. He said he was done with the Skins. He was tired of Dan Snyder. He ain't coming back. But he may be around if there's a new owner. But he's like, look, man, I watched that game, and I'm gonna tell you this right now. Like, I think this may be like a divine season for Washington. Like, he wasn't, and I know him to this point, he wasn't saying it from a fan standpoint. He really is detached from Washington still. I'm trying to get him back. But he's like, I think this is a divine season for you all. And I didn't agree with that part, but I did believe that Washington is in this position after you see these couple games and you see that Washington has the capabilities of offense in which they were able to really work through game planning and adjusting according to what the defense is getting them, countering throughout the day, setting them up based on things that they did earlier in the game. This is a team that can really go far with a mind like Eric Bieniemy. And what does that look like? I'm not saying Super Bowl, and I'm not even saying 12 plus wins. I'm not even saying 11 plus wins. But I think that you can find your way in the playoffs at the end of the season with an Eric Bieniemy led offense and a defense who continuously shows up on a week-to-week basis. They may give up some yards, but they're going to make some plays up front. And you got Emmanuel Forbes out there who may mess around and get comfortable because he's clearly the only person that can catch. Derek Forrest dropped another interception this week. Like, that was bad. It was right in it was a gift, and you drop it. But I think that after this game against Denver, you have a real shot of being 3-1 by the end of these first 4 games.
I think so too. Yeah, I mean, you got to have clear confidence in him. I mean, Mual, I'm actually getting hyped up just hearing you talk about him that way because I kind of was getting, optimistic. But again, I said I'm waiting for the Bills litmus test. But, I mean, with the way the guys are playing on defense, that defensive line is looking like the best line in football right now at the moment. And that's just making things tough. And like you mentioned with Emmanuel Forbes, I mean, he's putting himself in position to make plays. I mean, if we be honest, he that should have probably been a pick six this first career interception he had, on Sunday. But, I mean, stuff like that, he's going to get comfortable. The other guys are going to start catching us. Like you said, Derek Forrest missed a pick. We had 3 drop picks in the first game. So you got to figure they're in position to make these plays. They're there to be made, and they're going to start making them because that defense is just going to get more confident about a week ago. But, you got 2 tough offenses coming in the next 2 weeks. This is where you really want to see them show up. Like you said, all right, they dominated the Arizona Cardinals team the defense did that they should have dominated with a Josh Dobbs starting. Denver's offense, I mean, hey, they came out there, they got some yards, but second half, they were shut down completely. I mean, besides that little Hail Mary drive, I mean, we're talking about just complete dominance in that whole second half. I mean, but again, you got this Buffalo offense coming up, and this is actually, even though they are scary because they got Stephon Diggs, even James Cook. I love him coming up now. Of course, Josh Allen. But this is a game where you can actually get this guy to make mistakes and really show out as a defense. Josh Allen he will make some stupid decisions. We've seen that in the first game of the season against the Jets. So now, can this defense really take it to the next level and just start forcing a lot of turnovers in this game? I think they can possibly.
Where are we at? Actually, let me start here. We can go to the power rankings as we push forward. Yeah. Oh, my bad, AJ. You good? If you got something to say, yeah, you got the floor.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just gonna chime in. I knew what I wanted to say, and then I guess me trying to figure out if y'all could hear me, I went blank. But I guess with this opportunity ahead of them, with Buffalo, as Ron Rivera has been saying since he got in Washington, the team that he would like to replicate the most is the Buffalo Bills. From how they built around Josh Allen and his belief, to how they manage their offense, how they've handled things from a defensive side of the ball. I think this is a huge game for them. I think the main thing that Washington picked up from this win is belief and believing in themselves overall. Like a lot of the people within the offensive side of the ball haven't seen themselves score over 20-something points with comfort. You feel me? So to reach 35, you didn't get no defensive touchdowns. You strictly had to score on your own will is a big step for this offense, and everything boiled down to have belief can be done. So now it's around and the rest have to keep preaching on that and to be consistent. Because I mean, in my eyes, Josh Allen is kind of like Eli Manning in a sense, but way more athletic. Like Eli was going to give you 1 or 2 a game, you feel me, or even more. Josh Allen is definitely going to give them opportunities to make plays on the ball. Now they just have to capitalize on that. I'm interested to see how the scheme will be. I feel like, Mual, you did a good job on Twitter picking up on the clips and showing people how effective Jamin Davis could be within the scheme if they utilize him as a spy and a blitzer. Like, the number one strength of his game is his athleticism. Like, you're not going to find too many guys at his size that can run a 4-4 pretty much. Like, this is the perfect game to utilize Jamin Davis to be a spy and for this defense to attack Josh Allen. Don't sit back and rush forward because you'll give them all day. And unfortunately, these ends do not play their contained assignments correctly often. I'm just curious to see how Jack Del Rio dials it up with Jamin Davis, because I feel like you have to take advantage of the fact that these guys are starting to believe and understanding, like, hey, we could possibly put together a total package game. Because I can't remember as a Washington fan the last time I seen the offense and defense play a total A+ game or even B+ on both sides together.
Yeah, I'm in this space, man, where you brought up a good point with Jamin, right? And even for those where Jamin turned the game around with the strip sack, that play was made by Jamin. Excuse me, let me rephrase. Chase Young initiated Russell Wilson's rollout to the left, but I think in the grand scheme of the play and how it unfolded, to what AJ's saying in terms of contain, Chase Young on that play isn't even. I don't know what he did, like from a actual. They got their call out the huddle. He lined up and he decided he wanted to win inside and try and get this quick sack. I don't know if everybody was on board or even everybody knew. Ron Rivera mentioned post game, maybe Monday, today's Tuesday, and maybe I think yesterday, that, and I agree with him. He said that Chase Young had a really good game, but in terms of instances when he wants to make decisions like that, he has to communicate with the people next to him that he's going to make a move like this, and somebody has to have his back, because there is nobody out there to contain if he makes a slice like that, and cut inside that tackle, his inside shoulder. So because he was able to do that, Jamin Davis bounces outside. But to AJ's point, and the reason why I bring that up, you're going up against another mobile quarterback who in 2020 or 2021, we played them, and the biggest story was how Josh Allen was able to escape the pass rush lanes, because there was no discipline, there was no rush discipline, and you're getting another go at this 2 years later with essentially the same unit. Like you got Montez Sweat there again, you got Chase Young, you got James Smith-Williams, John Allen, Deron Payne, the exact same front 2 years later. How much developed have this unit become? And now you got Jamin Davis, who is in his third year, and a little bit more developed. You have an athletic front seven, essentially, or front six, with Cody Barton and Jamin Davis behind those defensive linemen. Like, how much better have you all become? And are you all prepared for a Josh Allen-led team who, now they're on the road against you, he's not much different than what he was 2 years ago in terms of his play style. Like, you can't screw this up. You've seen it already. So I think, to AJ's point, man, that front seven, like, while they can create havoc, and I would love to see, like, if they're going to continue, because Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, those two for sure, they've been on the heater to start the season. And I would love to see if Chase Young can continue, since that was his first game. I would love to see if Chase Young can continue, but also communicate, as Ron Rivera said, and work in unison with the rest of his defensive line, so you all don't get exposed on the edges. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Hey, Mual, I was just gonna say, I want to say Josh Allen was probably better because they really had a number two. If I'm not mistaken, Emmanuel Sanders was playing opposite of Stephon Diggs.
He was. And Cole Beasley was there too.
So you had a number two and you had a slot guy. Whereas the only target for real is Stephon Diggs, and of course in the middle of the field they'll try to get Dawson Nix some looks. I really don't think.
Oh, they got Dalton too.
The Kincaid.
Yeah, they got Dalton Kincaid.
But to be clear, I meant to say his play style, like not terms of weapons, but like how he plays. Like, he's still the same person.
Oh yeah, but now it's worse. Before it was before, like, I remember me, you, and Dre were having conversations about Josh Allen, and I was like, man, Stephon Diggs is so important to how he developed as a player, because now you see teams are shadowing Stephon and they're forcing him to go elsewhere with the ball make decisions. He's hurting right back to the guy he was in college at Wyoming. Like, so that's where I feel like the main person we really need to see scheme this thing up is Jack Del Rio. You feel me? Because we watched the opening game. Like, the Jets still won with Zach Wilson as quarterback. And he was giving up the ball. He wasn't making no plays from an offensive standpoint of the game, but they kept the Buffalo Bills intact with just their defense overall. Like, if you have Eric Bieniemy putting guys in the right position on the offensive side, Washington has just as better of a defense than the New York Jets as far as talent-wise, but scheme-wise, Jack Del Rio got to be a bit more aggressive. I think you probably seen that from the All-22. He got a bit more aggressive towards Russell Wilson later on in the game with sending different blitzes up the middle or cornerback blitz or safety blitz, whatever. I think he just has to dial it up a bit more and not be scared of possibly giving up the big play, because the difference between Russell Wilson and Josh Allen mobility is Russ typically is getting out the pocket to possibly pick up a couple little yards here and there or dink the ball out. While he's running, he's looking downfield the entire time for the big play. So, you know, that's the matchup I'm looking for is Josh Allen pretty much versus Jack Del Rio.
Where are we at? Let's go ahead and get this power rankings out the way. Where is it at? Okay, here we go. Last week, I think we said Dre and AJ, you all mentioned, I'm looking at it. So you all mentioned like around 22, 23, and I think the average was around 21 in terms of the rankings. Let's see where we are this week, man. Where do you all, and I think we can start doing this moving forward, where do you all think they should be? And where do you all think the average is this week? Yeah, we can start there, and I'll go ahead and go through the list after.
I think they should start. Well, I think they should be around 13. I would personally put them around 13. I think the average is going to be between 15 and 16. I think some people are still going to be a little bit hesitant because people aren't too high on Denver. So they're going to be a little hesitant to put us up right now. You know, so I'm going with 13 for me, 15, 16 average.
Okay.
For me, I'm trying to remember. Last week, I think I said 23.
Yeah, both of y'all were in the same range, Dre and you. Yeah. Y'all were in the same range.
Move to 20. You know, you gotta beat some of these teams that we expect to be in the playoffs, even though they're not in your conference. But you know, if you beat Buffalo, oh yeah, you can possibly get bumped up to a 13, like Dre just mentioned. But you know, I want to see how you do against these elite quarterbacks. Like, I still think Russell is elite, but he's also adapting to Sean Payton's system. But yeah, with Buffalo, yeah, if you stop Josh Allen and you go into next week against Philly, going against Jalen Hurts, 3, you gotta get bumped up all the way.
I think you go top 10, you beat them.
Yeah, if you beat Buffalo, you move up the top 10 because we expect Buffalo, even though, you know, Josh Allen has had his hiccups, we expect them to still be a dominant team within this league overall. And even the Jets game, you know, if you take away those turnovers that he had, they probably are 2-0 going against us this weekend. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Yeah, so I have them 20. I moved them up 3 spots.
To AJ's point, bro, like, depending on if you lose the Buffalo, depending on how, like, what the loss look like, even if you lose to them, right, and if it's a respectable loss from a evaluator standpoint, and you come back and beat Philly, like, I think you still top 10. Like, you putting yourself on the map after these 2 games. That this, like, those first 2 games that you beat Arizona and Denver, those weren't fluke. Like, we can compete with Buffalo. We can compete with Philly. We beat Buffalo, or we beat Philly, or we beat Buffalo and Philly. Like, that's kind of the different tone that you can kind of set with this opportunity in front of you. I'm sure they feel it. But to your point, or I guess to answer where we are, Dre, you were closer in terms of the average. The average on the dot is at 16. That was the average number. We were as high as 8. And that came from CBS Sports. Okay, so Newport put in a prediction. He says 14 would be his number and 18 is the average. So Newport, you were close as well. We were as high as 8 from CBS Sports and as low as 24. And the 24 came from, who was that? The Lines. That's the gambling site. ESPN had us ranked, where are we at? 12th. So is the Athletic. We got bumped up from both of those. ESPN had us 21 last week, 16 from the Athletic the week before as well. Pro Football Network has us at 14. Last week we're at 19. Bleacher Report has us at 15. The week before we were at 25. So all in all, moving up in the rankings from a power ranking standpoint. Fellas, I think to continue this conversation and just kind of put a spotlight on a couple people, Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell's gonna be one thing, like in detail, but Brian Robinson to start his. I mentioned you in this one, Dre. 2 games in, he has 102 rushing yards after contact. That is 8th most for running backs in the NFL to this point. 2 weeks in, 13 rushes for a first down, which is first in the NFL for running backs to this point, and 9 missed tackles forced on runs, which is tied for 4th most by running backs this season. Brian, we've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, and I ain't about to sit here and say, man, AJ, you done lost your damn mind for thinking that these coaches don't like these running backs. I'll wait until the season is over to say that. But what I will say right now, is that I'll just continue to like stand on my point in that. And I don't know where Jay Tyler is, because I saw him talking crazy in the comments last week. I didn't want to work up the energy to talk to him. My thing is, it's not about like his scheme. Like, we acknowledge that this is a pass first offense. It's going to be brand new to us in terms of visually seeing how this offense is going to perform. You got to get adjusted to how the enemy likes to call plays. But I think, again, when you look at a guy like Brian Robinson, sure, like he may not be a home run hitter, which I want to say by now as well, he ran a 4.56-ish. And that's not a great 40 time in terms of somebody who's explosive or an elite speed threat. But my point is, like, there's people who's run like 4.6s and can house a 60-yarder. Like that, like a 40 time and what you've seen, like, don't say that he's not a home run hitter because he hasn't done it yet. Like, there hasn't been an opportunity really provided to him to hit a home run. And I think that's the most important thing. Like, if you get him and he sees a crease and he hits it, there's going to be opportunities where that second and third level support isn't right where it's supposed to be, and he's going to house something. And I think that's the most important thing moving forward. But my point, when I circle back to Brian Robinson, if you don't find a way to get him involved early in terms of the ground game and stick to it so he can continue to build momentum, to have a rhythm, to find the flow in the offense, to find a flow in the game as the game moves along, I think that is the thing that kind of prevents these guys from being a little bit more dominant of an offense early on. We kind of see what the pressure looks like up front. Side note, I don't think that Charles Leno had a terrible game. I think if we all watch the tape, and by the way, there will be a film session on Charles Leno coming out. I just want to give him a couple more games so I can have a full 4-game evaluation showing everybody that everybody's narrative is bullshit. But I think that the offensive line altogether, from a collective standpoint, when you have so many dropbacks, in addition to Sam Howell, who's still inexperienced, people don't understand that some of these sacks are on Sam Howell. Not from him just holding the ball, maybe from his depths. Like we talked about that in the first game. Like sometimes his depth drop is going to be a problem. And it's not always consistent. Like these things get him in trouble. But I think Brian Robinson is the offset to that. And that's where when my head is like, you got to find a way to get him involved early. You got to find a way, even if you're going to throw it 20 times, find a way to get the ball to Brian Robinson in his hand at least 7 to 10 times in the first half if you're going to throw it 20.
Yeah, no, and I want to go back to your comments about Brian Robinson, man. I think AJ wanted to say something. I don't know if his computer's having issues, but no, I mean, Brian Robinson, you mentioned me and Mual, we've been kind of talking about it. And someone even mentioned us in the tweet saying that, oh, well, you know, we still got to get rid of him at some point because he's not a home run hitter and that's what we need. I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to upgrade the position, I'm always in favor of upgrading the position, but Brian Robinson is fine for what you want to do now. He definitely can do whatever you need him to do in the running game right now. We may not need him to hit a home run hitter, but I love that when he gets going, when he gets that head of steam, people don't want to tackle him. I mean, he's like a horse running down the field when he gets going. You even saw it on the touchdown run, even though it wasn't like a long touchdown run. But when he picks up steam, I mean, the guy can get going. He just like to have those opportunities, as Mual said. And as far as Charles Leno go, Mual, you had me laughing. I was reading the thread when you had posted and you said, yeah, you know, Charles isn't as bad as you all think. And, you know, you provided some little film analyst and everything. Someone responded, delete this tweet, he's ass. I mean, you can.
Oh, for real? Somebody said that, bro?
Somebody said that they were like, delete this tweet, Charles Leno's ass.
Hey, I can't wait till the film session come out, bro. Like, I know I've only been putting words out there this season. Like, I haven't showcased Charles Leno yet. But when I tell you all, because I think here's the main thing, Dre, you got the floor. But my main thing is like people look at like obvious point being, let's go to the Broncos game. He had a bad couple of plays in a row in the first quarter, early second quarter. That's all you're going to know because that's the only thing you remember from Charles Leno of that game is that he got beat on a sack and they showed it on a replay and it looked bad and it looked bad again and it looked bad again when you watch it for the third time. Like, I understand that. And I don't even, it's not me saying he's this greatest player ever, but I think y'all need to understand and put into context, like, he's an above average left tackle that you can win with. And for you all to sit here and say, oh, he gave up a sack, he's ass, he's going to give up a sack. That's what he does. Like, he's going to give up one or two, and he may not even do that every game. But at the same time, you're looking at a person who has some issues. He's not an elite left tackle, so stop judging him accordingly. It's like all these people have to be perfect. Like Sam Cosmi is one of our best offensive linemen, and he's had some issues throughout the season. Like, it hasn't been like terrible, but he's had some issues. And I think that's kind of the thing when you have this narrative, bro. Like, people don't look into the whole game. And to be honest with you, some of the people, majority of the people who have these comments on Charles Leno, they don't even watch, they don't even run the game back, or they don't even look at all 22 to see like what he did on a down-to-down basis.
I'm gonna say it for you. Here's the issue with football, right? And this is one of the main things for me today that I took away from just like Twitter. I ain't even really say too much because I was just like, man, maybe I'll just vent about it when we get on here. It doesn't matter if you work in the sports industry or not. At the end of the day, there's certain people that understand football and know the ins and outs, the 101s of football, and there's others that are just casuals that just follow along with whatever is spewed out there. You feel me? That's why we have these we have these daily debate shows with the Skip Bayless, the Keyshawn Johnsons, the Michael Irvins, the Shannon Sharps, the Stephen A. Smith. And then on top of that, you got your local radio pundits just providing their own damn commentary, and some people treat it as gospel. There is a lot of people floating around in fan bases, not just Washington, but in all sports, and especially on Twitter, that don't know the ins and outs of the game. So they just run with a narrative. And the narrative is Charles Leno is bottom tier attacker. You know what I mean? But you can win some, you're going to lose some. No matter if you're Trent Williams, Larry Brown, Willie Rofe, Anthony Munoz, Darrell Green, Deion Sanders, Darrell Revis, Randy Moss, it could go on and on. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some, you're gonna have some bad games, you're gonna have some amazing games, you're gonna have some average games. You feel me? And it's just like I really don't have that much of a problem with the offensive line. You feel me? Like I understand the major thing here at hand is they're learning a new offense. They're also learning one another. You have to play as a unit on the front line of the offense and defense. These guys are in their second game collectively playing all 4 quarters as a unit. Andrew Wiley was not a previous Washington Commander. Sam Cosmi started off at right tackle last year. Sadiq Charles been sitting on the bench drinking Gatorade, now getting reps. Nick Gates was in New York chilling, watching Saquon break ankles. And Charles Leno is adapting to a new system and having a new guard next to him, new play calls, everything. So it's like for people to criticize guys and just come out here and be like someone is ass, whatever. Like even the Andrew Wiley thing, I knew when they signed him who he was. I'm not expecting him to come to Washington and become an all-pro. Like they also shouldn't be expecting that. And I don't believe that they are. They just like, let's just put you here to help us. You feel me? Because you also know KC's scheme. You know what Eric Bieniemy wants. We need, if you look at any team, whenever they add a new coordinator of some sorts, they bring somebody from that tree that understands exactly what that person wants so that they can be in those rooms and preach to the other guys. This is what EB wants. You feel me? This is what Jack Del Rio wants. This is what Ron wants. We seen it in Ron's first year as a Washington Commander or Redskin at the time. He brought in Thomas Davis. Thomas Davis couldn't play no more. Thomas Davis got $4 million to be a presence within that locker room and to be a guy on the sideline to motivate people and help them understand exactly what Ron Rivera wants to set up his culture. That's just how teams are ran. Udonis Haslem can't do shit for the Miami Heat. But he sat on that bench to help the younger guys, the undrafted individuals, understand what the Miami Heat culture is and to get on board. And it's like, bruh, you're not going to have all pros across your NFL team. There's 53 guys on the roster plus. You know what I mean? Like, you're not about to make a Pro Bowl team. And if you look around the league, a lot of the guys are Pro Bowlers typically aren't first or second round picks. They're later drafted guys that just got coached up and understood their assignment and created a niche for themselves. So that's my issue, you know, with this thing. Like, at the end of the day, we can't pay attention to all these people and the criticism that they give. I think what you do with the All-22 and others are doing and what you're going to do with the film study will help those that want to know and want to learn, hey, what is this guy really doing at a high level, an average level, or needs to improve on? If they're not the ones that really want to dive deeper into it and get in depth, they're going to be the ones that say, oh, this person sucks, and they have no clue what the hell they talking about. They just run in their mouth, just diarrhea at the mouth, pretty much.
But see, and that's why I brought up the point, because Mual actually brought up some film to say, hey, man, you know, this guy isn't as bad as you think he is. I mean, he lost the rep. But that's the problem when you play positions like left tackle or cornerback. You know, you can sit up there and do your job 95% of the game, but people going to remember that 5 or 4% where you gave up a catch or you gave up a big play. That's all people are going to take away. And it's hard to shake narratives. That's one of the things that's annoying about any fan base. It's like once you have a narrative, that's like the offensive line. People have been saying this. Yeah, this people have been saying this offensive line has been ass since the draft. Oh, this offensive line is bad. This offensive line is bad. So they're already coming in every game saying this is bad. You can't show me any different. I don't care about your little film. They don't want to see any of that. We said it was bad months ago. It's bad now. So it's no nuance like with Charles Leno. Like I said, Charles Leno, I think he's solid. I mean, he's not Trent Williams. He's not Chris Samuels. Most of the people in this fan base are spoiled. We are used to elite left tackle play, but you can get by with solid left tackle play. You're just not going to get those games where you're suspecting the stonewall an edge rusher for a whole game.
Your best pass rusher, like Micah Parsons. You ain't gonna have Charles on a one-on-one with Micah Parsons all game and expect him to shut him down every single time, bro.
And that's the thing, because when we had Trent Williams, we weren't really scared of elite pass rushers. We were like, okay,
Nope.
if we got Trent Williams, he's going to neutralize this guy for the most part, and they're going to probably have to move that guy to the other side just to try to get off a little bit. But Trent Williams, he held it down. Chris Samuels held it down. Now people see Charles Leno, like I said, he's not going to go out there and shut those guys down. So that's why he's asked to them. It's either you're elite or you're ass when you play left tackle and cornerback in this fan base.
Yeah, it's just interesting because it's like it's just overall in football right now, man. Like I'm seeing people eating Justin Fields alive, but it's like, are you paying attention to his offensive coordinator, the plays that he's calling? Like, how is that player supposed to be comfortable? That player is obviously not comfortable within that scheme, and they're showing you on Sundays that they're not comfortable with what is being asked of them, and it doesn't make sense. So now this player is asked when it's really the coaching. Like, people forget coaching matters. And yeah, at the end of the day, there's not many tackles in this league that's gonna stop a Micah Parsons, for example. Even Trent Williams gonna have his little issue. Like, you can
Micah's gonna get his, bro.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the D coordinator also knows I'm gonna line I'm gonna line him up over the center. I'm gonna move him all over the place. Like, it really boils down to you playing as a collective unit, because even if you have an all-pro tackle or the center, everybody else has to do their job together to make a great offensive line or defensive line. That's simply what it is.
Yeah, man. Hey, PC, I see you in the chat. Said I agree with Mual. Charles Leno has been slightly above average at left tackle. Fans want Trent, Laramie Tunsil, Lane Johnson out of Leno. It ain't happening. Leno is priced well and good. The anti-Leno people don't know football. There are broke, no-name Stephen A. Smiths like him. They don't know football at all and barely watch it. The annoying thing in our fanboys is people. I actually never heard this part, PC. He said another annoying thing in our fan base is people actively rooting against Emmanuel Forbes because they wanted Christian Gonzalez. I'm sick of that shit. Yeah, that's brand new to me. I'm not saying you wrong. I never even noticed that people was rooting against Emmanuel Forbes.
Nah, I seen it, but it also comes back to the thing that a lot of people don't know football. They don't understand. To be a ball hawk, you got to take risks, and there's certain things that's gonna happen. That deep pass that Marvin Mims caught on him. That wasn't even like a technician.
It's a speed release, bro. He just went.
Yeah, he just ain't. Forbes ain't even get the line up for real. You feel me? Like, if you go back and look at that play, he ain't even get set. And I seen that live because the camera was actually on him in that moment. He ain't even get to set his feet. You got a guy that run a 4.3 already running, and you ain't even get into your position to start backpedaling. Like, I mean, yeah, it's just people don't understand football and the different nuances and niches that people bring to the game. Like, Christian Gonzalez is nowhere close to the ball hawk that Emmanuel Forbes is. But if you're gonna take a ball hawk, you have to understand this person is going to give up some plays, but the reward is flipping the field, like you seen Sunday, which we seen tape. But if you want to, you can go check out Let Mual Tell It at twitter.com, and you can see easily if Emmanuel Forbes doesn't slip after getting that ball, that's pick six to the crib.
Pick six, man. Hell yeah, let's get some quick hitters out the way and we get up out of here, man. First one, let me pull it up. Should we start with okay? Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell. Oh no, say that one for last. Charles, Cam Cheeseman, whatever the hell his name is. Cameron Cheeseman, I think it's Cameron. He's being retained to this point, according to John Keim and a couple other. I think John Keim was first, but a couple other media reporters. They're going to keep him. Obviously, at this point, the date of which we're recording, September 19th, or maybe even 18th, is when it happened. But they brought in like 4 or 5 long snappers. They tried out for Cameron Cheeseman. They're keeping him for now. Big deal, no big deal. Where you all at?
I mean, when it comes to Ron Rivera in this situation with the long snapper, I don't know if like Ron Rivera loves like Cheeseman's mom's cookies, her chili, her chicken noodle soup, or whatever the case is. But there should not be loyalty to a long snapper that's out here snapping the ball and the ball is dribbling like we playing basketball. Like there should be no loyalty to that, because at the end of the day, he's costing you games. He's costing you opportunities. Like what more do you want? You clearly missed a field goal earlier in the game because of this poor snap that was dribbling on the ground. You know, luckily Trezway was able to still pick it up, but you missed it because of that, because everything is about timing when you're kicking. And if that ball doesn't get snapped correctly, the whole timing is thrown off. Then you decided to go, like early in the week, they asked you about your long snapper. You knew this. And you decided still, I'm going to attempt a 59-yard kick instead of punting the ball, and my defense is firing. You still went for it. It was another bad snap, which led to a missed kick. And it's like, you're going to continue to have this dude on your roster, a long snapper. All he does is snap the ball. Like, he don't play nothing else. He don't do nothing else. Why can't you just move on, bro? Why is it so hard?
I mean, it is funny because, you know, I told you, you know, when I brought this up in the offseason, it was like everybody laughed at me like, man, you know, we bringing up the long snapper. I'm like, but it sounds like an issue because I'm hearing it from multiple people that he's having these issues. And now Ron finally starts to acknowledge it. I mean, I think he acknowledged it before the game last week as well, after the Cardinals game. But he says it's going to cost us a game, or it can cost us a game at some point. So, you know, he brings in these guys. He brings in some long snappers. Now, you bring in multiple long snappers. You can't tell me that all of those guys look bad when you brought them in. Somehow, I just think he did kind of a safe face to say, all right, we're going to put Cheese on notice. I think that's all this was about, because they still want to protect this draft pick. I mean, everyone is going to clown. We've been clowning it, you know, that, hey, man, he traded up for a long snapper. But now other people are going to start catching wind to this if you cut this guy early. So, like I said, I think he brought in these long snappers this week to kind of put Cheese on notice to say, hey, you know, this doesn't get corrected. This is the direction we're going in, because you can't tell me that all five of those guys that came in, you know, somebody looked worse than Cheeseman at snapping the ball if this is what those guys do.
I'll say one quick thing. I do think this is a big deal. Long story short, because you all touched on it plenty, you can't wait for a bad thing to happen before you make a decision. Like, point blank, period. Like, you see a trend, and if the trend is not going in the way in which you desire or that you think is going to benefit the team, then get that shit out of here. You already acknowledged publicly that it's a concern. So I'm not in that space where I'm going to sit here and say I'll give Cheeseman some more time. Sure, he's in his second or third year, so you know it is what it is in that regard. But I think that if it's a concern to you, it's only a long snapper. Like, you don't have to preserve it for anything. You don't have to. And it's no disrespect to Cheeseman, because that's his job, right? Like, this is his livelihood. But at the same time, we're talking about from a team standpoint. Why wait for something to go bad in order to make a decision on him? Like, just do what you got to do. Last thing. Where are we at? Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell starting to gain some national attention. For those who don't know, this was the first time in franchise history, the game against Denver, in which 9 players had at least 2 receptions in a game. There was some things, I don't have the quotes, I don't have the interviews on hand, but there was some national media personalities who were starting to pay attention to Eric Bieniemy and Sean and Sam Howell. The Draft Network was one of them. Somebody that we follow, Keith Sanchez, matter of fact. He's been on our show throughout the offseason, maybe draft season. And some other people, I believe, as well, was giving some credit to Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy. Let's answer this one. Are you buying the hype in terms of, like, are you sold on this duo? That's actually the question. Are you sold on this duo as of now, or do you need more time?
I'm not sold on the duo, but I'm loving the credit that Eric Bieniemy is getting. Because as you touched on the outlets that have spoken on him, shout out to Keith Sanchez from the Draft Network. I also read an article earlier by Jason Reed, who used to be a beat reporter for the Washington Redskins. He works for Anscape, which is a partnership of ESPN, kind of focusing on the Black stories in sports overall. He highlighted Eric Bieniemy's influence as far as like culture, tone setter, being someone expecting, perfection, intensity. Also, Brian Baldinger did a good job of highlighting a couple tapes on the game from Sam Howell, and was saying, "Oh, this is what the players were complaining about during the offseason," because those that know the game and that have been around the game understand that you don't build that resiliency and you don't come back from 21-3 games without that type of individual around that is expecting you to still be great. You didn't really see it bother Eric Bieniemy at all. He felt like they were still in the game. And we've seen that in his tenureship with Kansas City, even with Mahomes at quarterback. We seen that against Buffalo Bills recently with the Kansas City Chiefs, against the Jacksonville Jaguars, even a game where Deshaun Watson was still playing quarterback for Houston, Texas, where the Chiefs looked like they was getting blown out, possibly go to the conference championship game. And the Chiefs ended up coming back in that game being down by maybe 18. Yeah, like 24-0. They ended up coming back and winning that game. And if I'm not mistaken, that same year advanced to the Super Bowl in the divisional round of the playoffs. So it's like that's within his nature. He didn't get rattled. I think that EB being on the staff and being around these guys has definitely rub off on him. It'll be interesting to see how it goes if they continue to win. They keep the streak up and they start beating some better teams. And let's say if they are in the talks for playoffs or they clinch a playoff berth, you're gonna hear more conversation who gets the credit, Ron Rivera or Eric Bieniemy. And it's not something that we necessarily got to bring up on our own. It's just going to happen by circumstance because it's clear as day what the main change has been for this organization. And it's not just quarterback. It's an individual. It's an individual within that locker room, within that facility that has changed a lot as far as perspective from players overall. And on top of that, bringing his offensive tools.
To answer the question, Mual, I am 1 week away from being sold. I mean, that's not to say that if they go out there and they have a bomb of a game, then I'm off the bandwagon completely. But no, I mean, you go out there and you do something against the Bills. I mean, you put up, I'm not going to go out there and say, hey, expect 30 points or so. But if you go out there, your offense is, giving you a reason to win this game outside of the defense. I'm sold on it too because they have made me, at least after the Cardinals game, I was a little skeptical, but then to see him come back and respond the way he did in the Denver game, I mean, not just in the Denver game going into it, but the Denver game throughout it. I mean, he had adversity in the game, and Sam Howell, eventually rose above the adversity. And you just see some of these guys, like the guys who love film, Mual, a couple of other guys out there I've seen on Twitter. People are loving the concepts and showing the concepts and breaking them down really quite well what Eric Bieniemy is doing. And I mean, you can see the vision. And now you just want to see them consistently execute throughout. I mean, not just Sam, but the rest of the offense as well. I can't wait till they really get it going because I want to see Jahan Dotson start to get going. Terry hasn't even really gotten off yet. I mean, obviously he had the beautiful touchdown catch over the past weekend, but he hasn't even gotten off yet. I mean, so it's so much more we can see with this offense. But like I said, I'm about 1 week away from being sold, man. I'll be insufferable if they go out there and look really good against the Bills.
So are you sold on the duo or are you sold on Eric Bieniemy?
I'll be sold on the duo, but obviously, if I'm sold on the duo, I'm sold on Eric Bieniemy, and that's going to link Sam Howell too. So I'll be sold on Sam as well. I'll be the biggest Sam Howell fan if he leads us to 3-0 next week, and I'm all in.
Gotcha.
I'm in that space, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. What did PC say? I said the Cardinals game is hard to judge because of 1 drops, 2 Gibson fumbled, 3 weather rain. Oh, somewhat, man. I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? You can judge the shit if you really want to. Where am I at? I'm in this space, bro. I think that this combo, how do I describe it? Because I don't want to. I'm not jumping the gun, but I don't want to make it seem like I'm jumping the gun with what I say. I think that uh, a an experienced coordinator with a new toy that has some elite traits can develop into something special. Bieniemy has a background and a resume that shows he is very much capable of competing against some of the best defensive coordinators out there. And a lot of people didn't believe in him because of who he was under, right? We know that. But at the same time, you're talking about a person who has dealt with adversity, right? That's just the hiring process, the head coaching search, all these interviews getting turned down from everything. And a person who had to remain in Kansas City, not like a hostage because you're in a very good situation, but you had to remain in Kansas City because nobody believed in you for 4 years or maybe 3 years. I don't know when he started getting all those interviews. For at least 3 years, you had to remain in Kansas City. And you're getting this opportunity to showcase what you want to do with a quarterback and an offense that has a plethora of weapons to choose from when you want to target them. Example, Terry McLaurin. He got 2 catches specifically on offense where Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy targeted him if the Denver Broncos were playing off coverage with their second string cornerback, right? And they gave Terry McLaurin the ball within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage and allowed him to make a play. You don't see that much from Scott Turner. It may be very simple, but you didn't have those opportunities for Terry McLaurin. And the further you get into the season, the more opportunities he'll get. And the more opportunities he'll get, all it's going to take is for him to make one defender miss and he can take it to the house. That's somebody that's getting your quarterback some easy touches, some easy passes, some easy completions. And that's a coordinator who's getting the ball in your playmaker's hand as quickly as possible. You look at the quarterback position. He has his flaws. Like we talked about sometimes, like his drop, his quarterback drops, like the depth of his drops can get him in trouble. He can hold the ball on too long. But you're seeing somebody who, when you see a play like he made to John Bates, who's running out and up on 3rd and 14 or 3rd and long, and this man hits a 35-yard pass in the honey hole, bro. Like in between the cornerback and the flat, the cover 2 cornerback in the flats, and then the safety, the half safety right over top of that cornerback, and you hit it right in the goddamn bucket to John Bates, who is not that. I don't care what anybody says, bro. He's not that great of a tight end, a pass catching receiver. But the pass was so perfect, it's impossible for you to drop that shit. Then you get that jump to Terry McLaurin on your second touchdown of the day, or maybe first touchdown. I don't remember. But the third,
I think that was the first pass touchdown.
The first touchdown of the day, a 30-yard bomb in triple coverage, essentially, but only in a place that Terry can get it. And if he drops it, it's no harm, no foul. And it's in the bucket, bruh. Like, and then he had passes last week that I showcased in the film session on Twitter. And that plenty of people have showed, like, some of his throw angles, some of his off platform throws, some of his throws where it's like it's not an F-it ball, it's an FU ball. Like, those are things that you could build on from a coordinator standpoint. Do I think that there's something growing here with these two? I do. And am I excited to see it and see what it becomes? I am. Does all of my excitement mean that it's going to lead to anything? I don't know. I'm just very intrigued because this is a situation where you don't have these two combinations come by in Washington that often, and you would love to see if Bieniemy can really build this offense to something that he envisioned when he took over an offense and he took over a team. And that what does that mean for Washington, given that we were the ones that gave him a shot? So it's 2 games in. I'm not gonna I'm gonna state my excitement, but I'm not gonna give you outrageous expectations. I won't do that to anybody.
I mean, but I think all 3 of us confidently can sit here on this panel before we wrap up the show and say that we are excited of the marriage between maybe not sold on EB and Ron Rivera, but as far as how and Eric Bieniemy, you can see the better understanding of one another. Because, like you said, with that Terry McLaurin, that play that he caught for a touchdown, that was dialed up specifically to go and make that play for Terry McLaurin. You haven't really seen that happen since Terry's been with Washington. You haven't really seen a play predicated just for Terry in the heat of the moment of a game like that. Like, that's EB trusting enough in Sam Howell. You make this. It might be triple coverage on there, but you go make this play and let your dog be a dog. And Terry is a dog. You feel me? And he went up and got that thing and scored.
Well, hey, I wanted to say one last thing on Sam Howell. Like, as excited as I am going forward to see what him and Eric Bieniemy can become, and Sam is really showing me things that I haven't seen a Washington quarterback do in a while. It's one thing that does concern me, and I do hope that they're able to find a way to combat it going forward. It's the batted balls, because I mean, we had one that went for an interception in week 1. Had another one that could have went for an interception this week. And I think he had like 3 or 4 batted down total in the last game alone. So that's something I want to see get corrected going forward. I know that's going to be kind of hard because Sam's a smaller quarterback and those defensive linemen are going to get those hands up. But some of those plays could be costly, as we did see in week 1 and almost in week 2.
You might have to get that boy a hype BBL. You might have to give him a hype BBL to not.
Now they got those shoes now. You can put the insole in your cleats.
Hey, man, you better put a whole bunch of them things in his cleats, because you're going to continue to see that. I really don't know if he's going to have that many clear angles to throw the ball, like, unless you move him out the – but, yeah, that's something you just got to kind of deal with being 6'1".
Yeah. Do I think Jahan will get more targets against Buffalo? Honestly, that's actually a really interesting question. We can circle back to that come Thursday, but at the same time, I will say right now, undoubtedly that I think that he will. I don't even know how many targets he had right now or against Denver, but I know it wasn't that much. He had that big first down catch early in the game to extend, I think, the first drive. But matter of fact, let me see, how many targets did he have? He had 5 targets. 5 targets, 3 catches.
Hey, man, this offense is not predicated to necessarily feed someone the ball that much. It's to spread the ball around. That's why he hit 10 different targets. He had 10 different receivers. Like that's just what it is. Maybe we see in Kansas City last year they fed Travis Kelce the ball because they ain't got no on the outside.
But maybe also what we're seeing too, AJ, we may be seeing a lot of what they're doing in the first 2 games to set up those bigger plays going forward to get those guys, because right now those safeties are playing deep. They don't want to see Terry and Jahan get off deep, but if you keep hitting them with the short stuff, because that's what Jahan and them has mostly been feeding off of so far to start the season, is the little intermediate routes, the short stuff. But I think that could be to set up the bigger stuff going forward, and that's one of the things that's intriguing me about watching these 2.
Fellas, all to you are hilarious. You know what's crazy? That's not even like Defo is one thing, but I ain't even like if you can guess. Matter of fact, everybody in the comments, because I gotta go. We got another show to record. If you all can guess what my most common celebrity lookalike is, I cash app you lunch money, bro. I ain't doing too much. I cash.
Hey, you might as well cash at me because I already know.
Nah, don't say it. Don't say it to them, bro. But if y'all can do that, man, I cash app you lunch money, man. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for us. We got to get up out of here. But we'll be back Thursday for Bills pregame, and then all 32 is coming out tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. Dre, AJ, man, y'all boys be safe, bro. We're gonna lock in Thursday. Enjoy the rest of y'all evening, man. We out here, dog. Peace.